For more analysis on Walmart and its latest quarterly report, we want to bring in Michael Baker, who is D.A. Davidson Managing Director and Senior Research Analyst, for some analysis of both Walmart's numbers and the broader retail sector. So, Michael, what's your top takeaway first from Walmart's latest quarterly report?
Well, I guess it'd be twofold. One, there's definitely something going on with the consumer, i.e. a little bit of caution, a little bit of slowing sales. We've seen this, as you said, in all the guys who reported this week, as well as other data points, including the retail sales numbers that came out on Tuesday. We're definitely seeing a slowdown. On the other hand, as it relates to Walmart in particular, they're just really well positioned in this environment. They're 7.4% U.S. comp, excluding gases, ahead of expectations. A strong number we think will be one of the stronger ones that we'll see this earnings season, and that's because of their positioning as a low-cost provider for everyday basic needs.
So, Michael, you call Walmart an economic bellwether. It clearly is. What do Walmart's results say to you about the state of the consumer?
Focused on needs rather than wants. And again, that's why Walmart is so well positioned here. We're seeing it even from higher end customers trading down into the Walmart ecosystem, and the focus on grocery, which was up low double digits. Health and wellness, a really strong category. In fact, their best category. On the other hand, general merchandise, which is tends to be more wants versus needs, was down in the quarter. So the U.S. consumer is spending, but they're just spending more on things that they need rather than what they want.
And let's talk about Target. Target cited a big issue that they're having, similar to some other retailers, about shrinkage, and particularly just the impact of organized crime. What's your thought on what's happening with Target and what it will mean for its profit?
Yeah, well, so they're not the first ones to call this out. Home Depot, in fact, called it out a couple of years ago, and we're seeing it across retail. What Target said specifically yesterday is it'll cost them $500 million more than they thought it would cost them. So that's an incremental about 0.5% to sales. And by the way, that's above and beyond the increase that they saw last year. So it is an issue. It's definitely not Target specific. I think what's happening here is Target is just taking the leadership role and calling it out, emphasizing it. It's getting a lot of airplay on your network and others. And I think the idea is that they need policymakers to take a look at this and maybe help out a little bit. So it's definitely an issue at Target. I think it's an issue everywhere. I don't think it's a Target specific or even worse at Target than other places. Again, they're just taking the lead to try to highlight it, in my opinion.
Okay, so that's a different issue than you see in terms of the breadth and scope of how this is impacting some retailers. Are there some economic headwinds that you're paying attention to when it comes to the impact it can have on these retailers?
Well, what we're seeing in the economy, I think, is a little bit less confidence because of inflation, because of the unemployment rate still is actually very low, but we're seeing a little bit of slowdown in hiring. People are seeing that on the news, and they become a little bit less confident, and they want to spend a little bit less. And so that's, pretty much what we're seeing in the results from these retailers, as well as some of the economic data, like the retail sales data. Now, I will say the situation, I think, was exacerbated a little bit in the last few months from the lower tax refund data, which really hurt sales in March and April. And that's a real issue. I suppose if there's some good news, that should become less of a headwind going ahead. That's more of a first quarter and spring issue. Also, the weather was actually pretty unfavorable in March and April as well. Very cool, wet spring. So there is some hope that things will get better later in the year, but still that's within the overall context of slower sales after what had been, a couple of record years in 2020 and 2021. And even 2022 ended up being a pretty strong year.
All right. Michael Baker, we will have to put a pin in our conversation, although I could talk retail all day long. We appreciate you joining us as usual.